Hello, today I'm going to be talking about Bonds of Brass by Emily Skrutskie. Here's the cover. Bonds of Brass was published in 2020. In terms of the writing style, I would say it's a first-person narrative, prose-driven, and it reads really easily. The genre is a subsection of sci-fi. I think I would categorize it as something like militaristic sci-fi. In terms of the plot, two cadets at a military academy go on the run after one of them is revealed to be the prince and heir to a galactic empire, and an attempt is made on his life. While on the run, the two teens encounter danger, adventure, and their friendship is tested by the choices that they both must make, as well as the feelings that they have for each other. Bonds of Brass is the first novel in Blood Right trilogy. In terms of the pacing of the story, it's super fast paced and it reads really quickly. So for the characters, Etienne is the main character and the narrator. He's referenced as being extremely driven, and he's known as the best in their class in terms of their grades. He's the best pilot in their class at the academy. He's also a refugee of a system which is actually colonized and currently under the occupation by the Umber Empire, which is the big bad empire of the story. Etienne seems to be a really selfless character, which is almost to a fault. Sometimes he puts others way above his needs. The other main character in the story is Gaul. Early in this story, we learn that he's the heir to the Umber Empire, and he's also Etienne's best friend. So the two characters of Gaul and Etienne, in my opinion, are foils of each other. Gaul is extremely calculating and less naturally skilled than Etienne, whereas Etienne is, again, the best in the class. He's naturally brilliant at pretty much everything that he does, and he's extremely caring to a fault, which leads him to make bad choices. This isn't to say that Gaul is not caring, but I think that the decisions he makes are much less about his emotions and more about the end result. The other notable character in the story is Wen Yifan. She's a young girl, and the pair meets her on one of their adventures. So Wen is brilliant, mischievous, and emotionally damaged. She's also extremely tough, and in my opinion, she's actually the best character in the story. She has real emotional baggage and is incredibly resilient despite the tragedy of the life that she's living. She also displays the most humanity of this trio of characters. Gaul and Etienne are both so caught up in their own motivations, whereas Wen is living life day to day because she's a survivor. So some of the pros of the book, it's extremely exciting in terms of the story, and I thought that the world building was really strong. I didn't feel like there were any dips in terms of the pacing of the story. It was super exciting through and through. I also really enjoyed the sci-fi references that were made in the story, such as like they used a word rutin, R-U-T-T-I-N, and it's supposed to be like a curse word, similar to how they invent false words in series like Battlestar Galactica and other sci-fi works. I also thought that the ending was really surprising. I definitely wasn't expecting it, and I think that's always a pro in a story when you can throw in something that the reader isn't expecting. Additionally, I really like the book cover. I think it's really epic. I love the use of color. It's really beautiful and definitely catches your eye and makes you want to find out more about the story. So going into some of the cons of the story, I didn't like the militaristic aspect of the story. Some really serious war crimes are casually mentioned, and characters try to rationalize these ideas as just and their only option, which I really didn't resonate with. I felt like it was, even though it's a work of fiction and it's science fiction, I just didn't like that, and it made me really question the character's morality, which kind of leads me into my second con. I didn't really like that many of the characters. The two main characters, Etienne and Gao, I didn't think that they were super likable. So I definitely didn't hate them, but I just didn't like them either. I understand some of Gal's motivations given that he's a prince on the run and the empire that he's the heir to is conquesting across the galaxy, and so many people would like to kill him and would think of it as a win, a blow against the empire. So in that sense, some of the choices that he makes I can kind of justify in my mind. But to me, Etienne's motivations don't really justify the choices that he's willing to make. So even though I said as a pro that the ending was surprising, which I think it is a good thing to always kind of shake up the narrative and leave the viewer surprised, I don't know that it totally fit in with the story. Because of the choices that Etienne was making throughout the entire novel, the ending was really unexpected. And I don't know if I really like it. In my mind, I'm not sure it fit with his character arc and the values that he was displaying throughout the rest of the novel. So another con is I felt like the author was trying to make a point of continually trying to bring up the same ideas through the narrator's internal thoughts. I found this kind of condescending as a reader. It felt like the author was trying to force me to feel a certain way, i.e. the way that the narrator felt, rather than allowing me as the reader to establish my own opinion. This may have been the author trying to display that Etienne is really obsessive in his thoughts and is constantly thinking about the same things over and over, but in my mind, again, it didn't really fit with his character. And I feel like ultimately, if that was the case, it was unsuccessful. So my overall thoughts, I don't know if I would say everyone would enjoy this book. I think the target audience might be pretty specific, and although I like a lot of the aspects surrounding the story, ultimately for me, it felt like the story as a whole was unsuccessful. I don't know if I'll read the second story or not. I'm kind of interested to know what happens, but again, I don't know if I like the characters enough to really continue with the narrative. That's all the thoughts that I had on this story. Let me know if you've read Bonds of Brass, what your thoughts are. If there are any books that you read recently that you feel like I might enjoy, I would love to get some recommendations. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.